The propaganda's a win, stress feeding on my tension. My countrymen, they love their fiction. Words upon now, it's made with good intentions.
Kia ora, welcome to 1 of 200 media, politics, social commentary, predictions that you just don't want to hear. And we don't want to tell you, but they are ripped from our throats and published on the internet. I'm joined by my co-host, Pmax. How you doing?
Yeah, doing about as well as you can be in the resumption of history.
History didn't fully end. It's back. Is that what you're saying?
History's back, baby. And meaner than
Incredible.
ever.
And we're living in it. It is occurring as we speak. I'm always it is always a bit of a struggle when these huge international crises are occurring. You know, we've been in a constant polycrisis for years and years and years and years and years. I can probably say like what, since 2020, since
Yeah.
COVID really took off. It's been accelerating alongside an acceleration of governments, particularly in the West, becoming more authoritarian and less willing to save the lives of their citizens or people who live within their borders or whatever you want to say. And now we're in one of the worst periods of war that we've seen in a long time. There's been constant war,
Hell
by the
yeah.
way. This is something that, like, it often isn't talked about. The US is constantly at war, one way or another. The arms companies are not selling to no one when they're making record upon record profits. But the latest, I'm just going to call it a US attack. Israel's part of it, obviously, but I'm getting quite sick of people doing this nasty little claim that Israel just owns the US. It's actually an Israeli thing, and the US is kind of they've just been
Zionist occupied
hoodwinked.
government.
Yeah, fuck off. Like, you know nothing about the way that the US has operated as a world power since forever. Israel is an apparatus. It's a tool of US imperialism. This is in concert. I mean, there are some pretty fucking horrible people in Israel, obviously, and the state of the government and society there is more significantly fucked person to person. You know, I think there's more chance of some kind of popular uprising in the US than in Israel.
hmm
And I'm not saying there's much of a chance of it.
I
What
think
we, yeah,
I saw some polling data around like support for the strikes and so forth. And of course, in United States, it's absolutely rock bottom, but it's like up to, I think it was high 70s among the Israeli population behind strikes for Israel. And that includes all the lefty
fuck off, eh?
gay nightclub owners in Tel Aviv.
So evil. And this is something that people don't talk about either, right? Actually, there are a lot of Americans in Israel at this point, and more every day. Israel, well, Palestine is occupied by a US force, and it just happens to be some of the most Zionist, most evil Americans who are there, helping to use this what do I say, aircraft carrier in the Middle East, this base of operations to destabilize, to kind of keep, what do I say, West Asia in check. And there's finally been an alignment of insanity between US leadership and the Israelis in a way that we haven't had before.
Mm.
There's really clear evidence that Israel is using this as a chance to create greater Israel. You know, that's been the case since 2023 when they've been showing maps of what greater Israel looks like. They are bombing like 6 different countries at the moment. They've immediately like upped the bombing campaign against Lebanon, which has been ongoing since the ceasefire, by the way. Israel has never been in ceasefire with anyone. People are just not attacking them. Obviously, part of their attacks on Iran as well. They've increased pressure and atrocity in Gaza. They're ramping up things in the West Bank. Started bombing Yemen again. Yeah, all pretty bad. And then the US in particular, it kind of throws its hands up in surprise when Iran's like, yeah, we're going to hit all your bases in the Middle East. And if you bomb us, if the US bombs us, we're going to hit US bases in the Middle East because that's your power base here, and that's where you're attacking us from. And they did it. And they're just like, what? Why? Why are you doing this? Why are you retaliating? Surrender at once. We'll kill more school children,
Yeah.
which is essentially what they're doing. I don't know. I genuinely, we're at an edge of history. I don't know what happens here.
I think the interesting space to watch is going to be those Gulf states because they've really enjoyed being in this position for, well, a few decades now, where they can kind of grow alignment with Israel and the United States by proxy. Well, I guess United States and Israel by proxy is actually the more appropriate way to put that, without fully alienating their populations, which by and large absolutely fucking hate the state of Israel, mostly because of what they are doing in Palestine. And now, with these strikes, Iran has made a really strong case for you're either with Israel or against it. And I know that they're not the most democratic of institutions, but as we saw with the Arab Spring, they're not inassailable. So yeah, as this war goes on, I think that's going to be one of the spaces to watch, especially given the huge control those states have over global energy supply chains,
Hmm.
which touches everyone, even good old New Zealand.
Oh dear. And this has immediately come to the forefront with Iran's essential closure of the Strait of Hormuz, right? It directly impacts all these Gulf states, as well. And is probably like significantly more impactful. I'm not even probably. It is significantly more impactful on how things change than hitting a few US bases in the UAE, right? Or in
Hmm.
Dubai. Like, oh, you actually can't sell your oil anymore is a pretty big one. Let's, I guess, to our audience, we've got a longer episode coming out either just before this or just after this episode is released. It was recorded earlier in the week with Dr. Josephine Bagis and Kieran Kelly talking about the situation in Iran. So we're not going to go too much into detail on the geopolitical stuff. However, we do want to talk a little bit about how the New Zealand government has been responding to it because it's a fucking
Oh
joke.
my God. I I have this thesis that Christopher Luxon really just wanted to be like a part-time prime minister. Like the idea of sitting in on the meetings, getting to go to some of the conferences, shake hands with,
Right a limo.
ride a limo, shake hands with some of his like heroes, and just sort of, get out of it with a nice little lordship, call it a day. And, and then this war starts. And it's almost like if you're familiar with what is it, in the thick of it or in the loop kind of series of errors where he's like, what did he say? He said the United States was justified in
And taking
any
any
action.
action
Christopher Lux.
To stop Iran getting nuclear weapons. And you're like, okay, so first of all, nuclear weapons aren't on the table. That's been pretty clearly ruled out by the international authorities. And then I think it was Henry Cook was like, carpet bombing though? And he's just like, well, I think just, and then someone else was like, what about killing school children? Because that's already happened, you
Yeah,
know?
it's like
Far out.
just like soft endorsement of nuking Iran from
Any
Christopher Luxon.
action.
It just really highlights how utterly unprepared he is to be prime minister.
To be anything,
Yeah,
honestly. He came out the next day with a clarification. What he meant to say, he didn't mean to say any.
he meant to say action.
He meant to say we should take action. What the action might be, I don't know. I like personally, I would have pressed him immediately. Like, okay, when you say action, what's your red line? Like carpet bombing, like
Yeah,
school children being murdered in their school, because it's effectively he hasn't actually changed what he said. Because the action that has been taken is to commit war crimes and atrocities. There is a reality here that he should be grappling with and is somehow not.
but to be fair, most of the Western quote unquote developed world isn't really grappling with the
Oh,
reality that well.
Albanese was worse in Australia. Like he was worse.
Who who was the one who was like, was it Carney who was like, I endorsed the strikes and then a couple days later started
He had
walking
to
it
pull
back?
back. Because he was mad previously, right? He was like, "Oh, we shouldn't do this other thing. International rule-based order is over, and we should be looking to like middle powers now." And then these things happen. It was like, "Oh, want to get a bit of that?" Far out, man. They're so rank. I mean, Starmer is the same, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Luxon's in good company for bad responses to this among Five Eyes leaders. I think like this is funny. His response is maybe better than the other ones in a lot of ways because at least he's incompetent. And so
Yeah.
he's not able to like he's just a fucking idiot. Starmer's taking the UK into being part of the war. Canada has said, "Oh, we'll help out." Australia's saying, "Put our full support." None of them
I
are good.
Australia's still waiting on that delivery of billion-dollar submarines, so
Oh no, no, Albanese gave that back as a little statuette just this week. Did you see that?
oh wait, what?
He went to visit Trump and he gave him a nuclear submarine model on a gold plate.
Unprecedented levels of subservience.
It's fucked, man.
Holy shit.
So at least we're not doing that yet. And at least he's like Luxon's so unprepared to be dealing with this level of seriousness that it might collapse his government. And
Yeah.
certainly is not putting him in a good spot for the election coming in November. The other coalition partners, New Zealand First and ACT, have been just fucking evil about it. They're a bit
Hmm.
more in line with your Albanese and well, no, actually, no, they're beyond that. They're a bit more in line with like the Republican Party in the US. David Seymour was like celebrating freedom fighters in Persia and shit like this. Like Winston
Oh,
Peters was like, "Oh, Iran is bad," kind of atrocity propaganda, building that narrative uh,
around bad.
to to normalize these attacks. But like everyone's coming out and saying it. Phil Goff, good old Phil Goff, Helen Clark, your favorite liberals who got us here in the first place.
Yeah,
Um,
I loved Helen Clark's initial response, which was breaking the rules based international order is should never be done, even though the Iranian regime is
yeah, fuck
terrible
off.
and awful and the worst thing to have ever
How do you think we
like
got here? It's so frustrating.
it's such
Um,
a self-defeating argument because like they're like, oh, we have to follow the rules because we have to.
yeah.
Even though there's like this terrifying civilization-ending threat right around the corner,
Have
and
you
it's
heard
like,
about Muslims?
even the pro, like even like the pro UN education, like that is always seasoned with, oh, we have to act to stop, genocide, or we have to act to stop this. We have to like, use force to stop it. Like when you're educating about the United Nations, that's the difference you're encouraged to highlight between the UN and the League of Nations is, oh, the UN can actually act to intervene by force. Don't bring up the the fact that like the only reason that ever really happened was what South Korea, and we definitely don't want to go into the details of that one. But yeah, it's such a strange argument to make, especially when there's much better arguments, even ones that are like aligned towards self-interest of this war is a stupid idea because it's going to make everyone fucking miserable economically.
Yeah, there
But
are there are other evil ways to do this, right? I think what frustrates me the most is that fascists, and we've been using the term for a long time now, but hopefully it's becoming clearer and clearer to people across the spectrum. And I think it is. You're saying even in the US, like people don't want this to happen. People think this is a bad idea. They're like, why are you bombing Iran? But the fascists hang their justifications on the liberal claims about the human rights offenses of the regimes that the fascists are attacking.
don't look at our human rights breaches. Oh, how would you do that? The like our glorious armies, they're unjust terrorists.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I don't, that like they build a cross party consensus around how evil a particular group is. Iran, Hamas, North Korea. Who else is it? Cuba. They're actually
Yeah,
struggling with Cuba. They're struggling to try and build this narrative for Cuba, I gotta say. China, obviously. And then, our liberal left parties, including the Greens, fucking sadly. Just
mm,
absolutely dog shit understanding of how this stuff works, apparently. They're like, oh, yeah, this is pretty bad. These guys are pretty bad. And then the fascists are like, okay, cool, we're going to bomb them.
yeah.
Like, cool, cool. Genocide time on Palestine, and immediately, like, the more left-wing parties have to say, "Oh no, 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 no!" Like,
No.
and they say, even though these people are pretty evil and nasty, and they're doing some human rights offenses, bombing is not the way to do it. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
you just justified what the fascists are doing, you fuckers. Like,
You
oh,
justified what the
so
fascists are doing
frustrating.
and clarified your position as the people who want to let miserable things keep happening.
Like, grow up. It's like it's not it. I was really disappointed. So the Greens had a really good statement out initially
Uh-oh.
through their socials. And I was like, yeah, look, a good like strong statement from the Greens. Didn't go into the stuff, right? Didn't do the stuff. This is after this is after the bombing had started, obviously. Previously, they'd done the whole like, oh, we should prescribe the IRGC and stuff,
Yeah.
because they're a great evil and we should bomb them later somehow. But no, not really. So they did this good little socials thing, like this is a war crime, blah blah blah, it needs to stop. And then Manama Davidson did a little stand up on it and was just saying like, and you're just like, do you want to be taken seriously as political leaders or not? Because if you do not use the words willy-nilly when describing the bombing of Iran. Like, and that's really easy to do. Wait, do not say, oh, it's just vibes-based bombing of Iran. Like, we're not on fucking TikTok. Like, you're giving a fucking statement to the press. Like, there are ways you should be speaking about this to convey the seriousness of it, and those are not it. It's a struggle, man. Like,
Yeah.
especially because they clearly have people within the party who are able to give that really strong statement. Like, how is this coming through a co-leader like 2 days later? I don't like who do. There's not a political party here that has like good international politics, and that's been the case for a long time.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you were mentioning this huge economic threat, right? Like this is the other thing that people can focus on.
Yes.
And probably the funniest uh, footnote is this decision by the National Party to try and greenlight an LNG facility a week before the US starts a bombing campaign that has just cratered LNG logistics globally. It hasn't been in the news yet. We're
Yep.
not seeing any discussion about that.
Like, freebie for anyone in the opposition who wants to highlight that particular, I lost the word, breach, that break in reality. Because we do have to remember, like, the long-term political backdrop to this. This is National's answer to the cancellation of the Lake Onslow pumped hydro scheme. This is the dry year solution. Um, and in spite of all the expert evidence highlighting that LNG is the most expensive and the least useful of the options available, we had environmental activists advocating for diesel instead of LNG. And that's largely because LNG is what? It's Qatar, Russia, and
The
the
US,
United States are like the big ones. Like, does Australia have a little bit of LNG?
maybe.
But it's not a diverse market. It's not every country has the facilities to package and ship LNG. And the ones that do are not incredibly stable at the moment. And, gas itself is a dying
It's
fuel.
bad for other reasons too.
It's just the most naked capitulation to like one company in New Zealand that I will not name, Real heads no. And to America, it's yeah, like I don't know, like we may as well just become the 51st state at this point.
I
Um,
think we have to get in line for that one.
yeah, okay,
Canada,
the,
Greenland, Australia,
the good
probably the
news
UK.
is by the time we get there, the um the colon is going to be very thoroughly cleansed. So the ass kissing will not be.
What a wonderful outlook. And like there are going to be other economic impacts as well, right?
Yeah,
Um,
all flow-ons.
like when does
I
oil crunch hit? Like a couple of weeks from now? Takes about a
I think
month.
I honestly think a lot of the markets are waiting to see, is this going to wrap up? Like, is, Trump gonna just announce victory and walk away and then everyone can get back to business? Or is this actually gonna go on till September? Or, as is probably likely to happen, is has Iran reached a critical state where they're not just going to like meekly admit, like, no offense to Venezuela, they were in a very miserable position. Because I suspect at the moment the United States is desperately trying to arrange for someone in Iran to claim control
Because
and
even
then,
Pahlavi's own mother is telling him to stay the fuck out of it.
yeah, someone to take control so Trump can just sort of be like, oh, we won in Iran, and then walk away with, the power structures largely intact. But I don't think I think the political structure in Iran, from what I can observe, it's a very information poor environment, and I am not an expert in Iranian politics. But from what I can observe, there's the dealing with America stage has ended.
Look, they bombed them during negotiations.
Yeah, literally, there's no negotiation with the United States until
And
you've
instead,
got
that was the plan.
a nuclear weapon.
Like, hey, we're going to
Um,
go into negotiations so we can bomb them without them expecting it.
yeah.
There's on paper, that's in the historical record.
Even if you make a deal, you know it's just going to be until the Americans decide that they need to bomb you for political expediency again.
Hmm.
And so I suspect there is a motivation within the Iranian political structure to keep this war going and just like let it ride, see see where shit happens. When markets realize that, and I think you can look to one of the more predictive markets, China, we're going to see fun times. So China's recently suspended the export of, I think, petrol and diesel, like refined petroleum. Given that, China is a net importer of gas, this probably signals that their risk management believes that this isn't gonna last, this isn't gonna be a short one,
Hmm.
given that they've got relatively close ties with Iran, that's probably also informed by their relationship with Iran. For countries like New Zealand that are depressingly exposed to fossil fuels, this is not going to be fun. We are potentially going to be seeing a repeat of the 1973 oil shock, also, interestingly enough, caused by war in the Middle East involving Israel. Funny how that seems to keep happening. And I believe, if you don't mind segueing, we can probably segue into something else that was related to those 1973 oil shocks, where apparently we're going to start doing the dawn raids again.
It's so rank, eh? It was like there the entirety of the national cabinet is just like blowing themselves up this week.
Yeah,
This is Erica Stanford, right? Minister of
yeah,
Immigration. Came out and did like this really nasty stand up with reporters where she claimed there were tens of thousands more overstayers than she had expected last month, which is some like stop the boat shit, eh? It's
yeah.
some like
But it's also
fucking
like literally anyone who has been paying attention knows that there are more people moving out of New Zealand than into New Zealand
like
at the moment.
ludicrously.
Um,
And then, like, and just like Luxon with the Iran stuff, saying any action, she didn't have to come back and was like, "Oops, I misspoke."
yeah,
Like,
the
it's already
facts.
out there, right? Like, she'd gone out like, "Oh, we're gonna do this. We have to. What is it? It's basically stop and search powers. for
Yep.
immigration officials. This is creating ICE, by the way. This is she has lied about the numbers of quote unquote overstayers in order to push a policy into being, which is giving immigration officers the ability to request information from people.
Papers,
And
please.
yeah, like it's papers, please. And they haven't, even though she then came out and was like, oh, I made a mistake about the numbers, she still gave them the fucking powers because she'd already justified it.
Yep.
This is ice shit. This is ice shit. Like everyone who's watching American news, like, oh, it could never happen here. It's happening here.
Yeah. They
It is happening here.
they
Um,
looked up they looked up the homework and they were like, "Hey, the assignment's due tomorrow. Can I just fudge the numbers a little?" Yeah.
just awful. Um, and the thing is, Immigration New Zealand for decades has always had a nasty, nasty streak of both racism and perversion. They are a horrible little surveillance industry. And giving their officers more powers is going to multiply the abuse that they already get off on. Not
But
good.
apparently she's a front runner to replace
That's so funny.
our extremely unpopular Prime Minister. What was it, 28%?
So embarrassing. I mean, if that's the best they got, of course, that's why they're keeping Lux in, right?
Yep.
Greens had a good response on this.
Yes.
Ricardo Mendes March has, even before he was in Parliament, been really great on these issues. And yeah, just said this is Trump stuff. There's
I
like,
think that's the comparison that the Green Party needs to be making.
yeah,
And they need to be highlighting as well. Like, I guess there's always going to be a desire, because of the nature of our political system, to play buddy buddy with Labour. Greens need to be calling out when Labour just roll over on the Trump shit.
yep.
It's not enough to just call out National. Greens need to be highlighting when Labour just accepts a framing. Be like, this is something I don't want to say very much in my life, but be more like ACT as a coalition partner. Wag the dog. Uh, like, ACT has never hesitated to call out their coalition partners. And to be fair, Winston Peters also never hesitates to call out his coalition partners, except when it's very obvious that it's politically expedient to do so. But yeah, establish the identity as the party that is against like aligning with the United States, which is extremely unpopular across New Zealand. Not just Trump, the United States as an institution is not popular in New Zealand. People fucking hate the Seppos. Um, and yeah, like build some of that distinction. So yeah, I really appreciate that comment.
Yeah, I think the other thing to keep in mind is like Trump is so unpopular here that Winston Peters has been using Trump as a derogatory term when targeting the Greens sometimes in the last 6 months. He'll be calling the Greens Trump-like. That is
Hmm.
how negative the association is. New Zealand First is using it as an attack term against the Greens. With the way that the US is accelerating, there's a really good understanding of that among the public and an historical dislike
Sense.
of the United States.
I,
There's
I
just
could,
I don't understand why it hasn't happened already. Why are we just not saying we're going to decouple from the United States? If you vote for us, we're going to force Labour. Or if you're Labour, we're going to like look to middle powers, right? Like there
yeah,
are there are ways to do that at different steps. But if you're the Greens, you're just like, no, we're going to push Labour as hard as possible to completely disentangle ourselves from the military-industrial complex and the US fascist regime. You can just
yeah.
say that.
It would be nice to see that happen. Red Bull hasn't quite fully hit yet. There was, yeah. So I guess back quickly touching on leadership with the lovely Chris Bishop and Erica Stanford, I believe, being leaders, although Bishop being an entirely astroturfed candidate. I've like, okay, I don't feel sorry for the National Party, but I do have empathy with like the staffers who have to try and win an election this year, and just the absolute morons you have to work
Look,
with.
mate, they don't have to work for these fuckers. They don't have to do it.
They don't have
They could
to,
walk
but
out. They could walk out.
oh, they should be walking out. If you are a national staffer and you're listening, you can get a job working at the service station or even
No, no,
being
no,
on.
you're not going to be able to do that with what's
To be
happening in
fair,
Iran.
oh yeah, actually, fair enough. But yeah, actually, okay, there might not be employment. No employment is a more noble calling. Uh, get on the road.
And
Get a
this is on the
little
back of, right, we didn't mention, there was a poll with
yes.
national under 30, which great.
Yep.
I don't trust any of this shit, right? Like give me back to backs. Give me a bit more. And
Yep.
also like I don't I get really disappointed when kind of left discourse kind of gets wrapped up in like, oh look, we're gonna win. Like, no, I mean National are actively doing electoral suppression. Like,
Yep.
go hard, please. Go harder.
Go hard.
Like they're
And
bleeding.
also,
Go harder.
we don't want the electoral left in New Zealand to be given a win. That's the
Oh,
worst outcome. We've seen what happened when a electoral left gets given a win, both in the United States with Biden and
electoral
in
left, of course, in heavy air quotes.
quote unquote, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, when I say the electoral left, it is derogatory. And the electoral left in the United Kingdom, who were gifted a historic majority and have proceeded to um, turn the Labour Party into a minor party, if projections are to be
Just incredible
considered.
shit, eh?
We need the electoral left in New Zealand to step up because as much as I do not believe in peaceful and democratic transition into a civilized society, I think New Zealand is small enough and developed enough culturally, politically, to be able to at least mitigate some of the bullshit um, through an electoral process. But for that to happen, like Labour's going to have to fight and make some promises that they get held to. If they're just allowed to come in, I am almost 100% sure that our good friend Christopher Hipkins will effect no change probably
At
and just
best.
sail on. They've made a promise to reinstate fair pay agreements. I highly doubt that promise will be kept. What I suspect will happen is there'll be a 3-year review
Oh,
on
perfect.
the implementation of fair pay agreements, and then
Which
if
have already
that,
been done, for the
yep,
record.
yeah, no, no, but you need to do a new one in
Oh,
light of,
yeah, just to make sure.
and then once that's been done, if they get in again, then they'll start the process of doing fair pay agreements, and then desperately signal to the right wing to try and win an election so they can scrap them again. Um,
God, it's so predictable. Going to yet another cabinet minister who just fucked up remarkably. Louise Upston went down to Gloriavale and then said, "Oh, there's no abuse happening."
yeah. Well, if she saw no abuse, like,
Didn't see it happening. Could not happening. Lawyer Dennis Gates, who has been a lawyer for people who have left Gloria Vale previously, uh, said Minister Upton is completely naive about what's happening or is very poorly serviced by a department to the point I think she should resign. And they
I,
just like it's insane to go down there and have the evidence, have the testimony of people who have left Gloria Vale, have this fucking guy who's like going to like who's been charged, with sexual abuse, who was leading Gloria
yeah.
Vale, go down there and go, oh, it's fine, mate. Like, how do you do that as a minister of the crown and not just lose your job?
The thing is, and this is purely anecdotal, but I think anyone who is normal, who has witnessed a Gloria Vale bus pull up and all the people get out, has gone, "Oh, they're fucked." There's there's no excuse. When you see, all these identically dressed people get out and like mind their children and so forth. To clarify, if adults who have had been fully educated and experienced the fruits of life decide, oh yeah, I think I want to go and dress up the same as a bunch of people and be subservient to my husband and all this sort of bullshit, that's wonderful, great. Like, go off and prosper. To bring children up in that environment is abusive, and it is a stain on New Zealand that Gloria Vale has been allowed to operate as it has for
20
so
years?
long.
Like longer?
Longer.
Fuck me,
Um,
eh?
with like every single time it gets investigated, it's like, oh, damn, there's a lot of abuse going on here.
Oh yeah, way
Um,
longer. Why did I even say 20 years? Way, way longer.
and every single time the government just refuses to shut them down, I guess because they wait, do they get taxed or do they count as like a
They
church
weren't.
organization?
They were previously, I believe, there were carve outs, but I would have to deep dive on that one. I think something
Yeah,
changed recently.
I'm not enough of a thing. Well, let's have a look at some of the.
Like I mean, just most recently,
She went down and held a baby. She was doing photo ops.
insane.
Louise.
Because like the most recent stuff to come out was from the Abuse and Care inquiry,
Yeah.
and they like what is it? They found that the overseeing shepherd and senior leaders were at fault for allowing physical and sexual abuse at the community. Like you've had a whole fucking inquiry about it. You can't just go down and say it's fine. Like you just can't do that.
Maybe Louise is a student of that like West German psychologist who thought that the best thing for abused children was to put them with child abusers.
Yuck. But like at this point, and given some of the other people in her party, and among her coalition partners and who they support, who the fuck knows? It's pretty dire in there, eh?
Wow,
Um,
it is kind of shocking when you take a step back and you look at the political policy of the coalition government in aggregate, and so much of it lines up with the abuse of children. From the school changes,
we said in
economic
2023, war on kids, eh? War on
war on
kids.
kids, war on kids, changes to make teenagers more economically vulnerable, just like hit after hit after hit targeted at children. And I guess that's just sort of continuing. It's insane that it's the most consistent lens for this.
Yeah,
Well,
it's frightening. It's worrying. I would be concerned. I am concerned. On a lighter note, as the fuck ups among ministers continue, and I want to be clear, every single one of these in previous governments would have been potential resignations. Every single one of these. But I
absolute
think
resignations. What, Michael Wood was holding like $1,000 of shares in a
12,000.
port company?
This one, which is the funniest one, this is funny, but it's also the one which someone did previously lose their role and then like left Parliament over. So Paul Goldsmith is so funny.
Is he embattled or
No, no, none of them
struggling?
are embattled. This is the fucking thing. None of these people are embattled. They're just like, oh, whoops. Oh, oops.
Funny how he
TVNZ
keeps
did a
making so many mistakes.
TVNZ did a story about gang numbers, and then Police Minister Mark Mitchell had a little bit of a cry about it on Facebook,
Hmm.
and then someone on the board, oh, it was the chair of TVNZ's board, Andrew Barclay, called Goldsmith about it,
Hmm.
and then a few days later, they ran a second story to promote the government's kind of balance lines.
Well, they're just it's just reporting balance, right?
It's just reporting balance, mate. Pity about the like causation here. Like there's direct interference. Like and the funny part of this is Goldsmith said he didn't really talk to him. He can't really remember exactly what was said, and he may have
Naturally.
grunted. He may have grunted.
Yeah. Yeah. The Grunt Gate.
Now, Claire Curran lost her role over this kind of stuff. It was for and not even close to this, right? This is a relatively clear case of ministerial interference and I would say corruption within TVNZ to run a pro-government story in response to government dislike of a story that they had run. Claire Curran didn't put something in her diary, and then she did tell people about it, and it was a mistake, and she got hounded by the opposition and by the media until she lost the ministerial role and then she left Parliament. Haven't seen Paul Goldsmith getting hounded just yet, have we?
I think what we've only seen what was his name? The guy who physically assaulted someone while wasted.
Andrew Bailey,
Andrew Bailey.
and he's still got his job, mate.
He's still got his job, but he lost his portfolio.
Yeah, it's foul.
No,
Um,
I think like that's been the MO of this
it has.
entire coalition. I think ever since Casey Costello very openly and blatantly just sort of received an email from tobacco companies and then unedited put it in as her official
Yeah.
cabinet position. Like, come on, you've got staffers to translate this stuff for you to like give you some level of accountability. But I think just the dynamics of this coalition, the fact that they've all had this like backrooms nod of like, we will do fucked stuff and we're not going to sink each other. The sort of like Mexican standoff where if Costello faced consequences for her open corruption, then New Zealand First would have sunk the coalition. And, similar things with ACT ministers. Is it Karen Cohor?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is she the one who's responsible for firearms?
No, no,
Or
no,
no,
no.
she's the children's
She's the
minister.
children's one. Also bad. Also has been bad.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I think almost every single minister has been touched by something that in a more responsible government would
Nicole
lead to a
McKee is the
firing.
firearms person.
That's the one who I was getting confused with. See, I wish they'd just keep it down so I could keep track of all these people who are making mistakes, but I literally can't. And I think that's also part of the strategy is once the dam broke, once they realized like, oh, we can just say it's fine, and then media is going to move on to the next news cycle,
And it just for
and the
really
opposition is going to move on to the next news cycle.
because of the
Cool,
media.
because of the media. Cool, sweet. Like this is the new way of doing government. Is just
Do you
yep.
remember back before 2023 and still today,
Oh,
in
and the
fact,
before times.
still today though, when people used to justify things like, oh yeah, I mean, I know it's a small thing, but the political gallery, the parliamentary gallery, they sense blood in the water and they're going to get their
Oh, they're
scalps.
so
Oh, it's just
savage.
because it's just how it is. They're just fucking sharks circling. That's just how they act. You can't stop them. Can't keep a shark away from blood. Oh, is that right?
No,
Oh,
you just
funny.
have to be
Oh, there's so
mates
much
with
blood in the
them.
water though. And
Yeah,
yet they're not. They're not going for the scalps. Almost like that was all a lie.
yeah.
It was a justification to go after people on the left, and
Which
it always
is
has been.
shocking given that some of the women making mistakes have been brown, which seemed to be the activating feature historically.
Well, only when it is when they're not doing class traitor shit.
Yeah,
It turns out only when they have liberal ideals and are too woke. Yeah, really, really foul stuff. 'Cause, I mean, let's not pretend that some of the people have gone after are paragons of progressive thought, right? Like
hmm.
Kerry Allen's not a leftist,
No,
you know. But it's about the politics of it. It's about who they have access to. It's about who holds power first and foremost. And they'll just justify it however they need to justify it, or just choose not to, as the
yep.
case may be for this entire government term.
It is just galling that there's just this complete abdication of responsibility and professionalism. I want my extremely corrupt government to at least try and hide the corruption, like the open corruption thing, just the brazen corruption. And I think it's all part of the strategy. Is just we're just going to make a mistake, and don't worry, something else will come up in a week, and then
Well, I'm
yours will
sure
be
it
washed
does.
away. Like Paul Goldsmith alone, like with the hiring of the what's the Human Rights
Oh
Commissioner.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was fucking wild. I bet, like he
Um,
should have gone multiple times already this term.
yep,
And
no,
in
absolutely.
any other government, he'd be out like so long ago.
Stuart Nash must be absolutely fuming at the moment.
Guess it depends how high he's going to end up on the list for New Zealand first.
Yeah. But and I guess it really does show that when, especially during the last Labour term, I think Labour probably was aware that they would have had the same ability to sort of sweep things under the rug. I do think that there was some party politics going into a lot of those decisions.
Oh, absolutely. Some of the people who were
Um,
taken out during Labour's absolute majority were internal jobs.
yeah, absolutely. And I think, that goes back through the recent history. And I think that's something that, once again, circling back to the Greens into Party Māori, if they end up becoming minor coalition partners
Hmm.
this term, if Labour starts trying to pressure one of your ministers for the latest fucking bullshit scenario, Fran was getting full fat lattes when he said that he was lactose intolerant or something like that, and they're trying to get him fired for it. Just tell him to fuck off. Just say you'll pull the trigger. Like stand behind your members and try to get the policy wins that your electorate wants. Because if there's one thing that the coalition has been fucking A plus at this term, it has been getting their electorate they want. Of course, in the process of doing that, they've revealed how small their actual
Yeah, the
electorate
electorate is
is.
like six guys.
Yeah, but they have delivered them literally everything they want, and they have run roughshod over our due processes and all those little rules. Like, I always go back to this one, but remember when the constitutional law nerds had an absolute meltdown about the Three Waters entrenchment? Doesn't that seem so quaint now?
I don't know because they haven't been quite as loud on other stuff. So who can say?
Yeah.
Who can say if these other things are really serious or not?
Yeah. It's just yeah, like I really want to see even centre left, as much as it burns my mouth to say that, even a centre left movement with half the backbone this coalition has shown defending fucking
Pedophiles?
rich alleged pedophiles. They've got name suppression, so we can't we can't
No, Tim
confirm
Jago
them.
doesn't.
Tim Chago doesn't, but like people involved in manufacturing in Southeast Asia who are coming into the country with child porn, just because they're really depressed and sad, totally, absolutely no relation to any other wealthy New Zealand families with manufacturing.
At all.
Right.
At all.
How close can we
Um,
get to getting sued?
well, let's snap it off there before we test those waters. Final story.
Oh.
Further, and like this is a really great example of their right-wing coalition delivering for their evil, venal electorate. They've pushed through legislation for MSD to do pullbacks of welfare payments. And that's even in the case of sexual abuse survivors, state abuse survivors, people with birth injuries. Evil shit. Like just evil. This is social murder. It's just like as with so much of these policies, this is like, hey, we've done our war on kids. That's pretty well entrenched now. Time for war on everyone.
Yeah. Well,
We're
this is just
we're trying
another
to kill
front
people
on the
now.
war in kids.
Yeah, I mean, look, it helps. Anything that hurts everyone also hurts kids.
Yeah.
So that's a
Like
that's a good point.
this is I'm getting quite historical, I feel like this episode, but it reminds me of that IRD report on like tax distribution in New Zealand and the fact that the wealthiest New Zealanders are paying the lowest percentage of their income in tax, not even any tax on their assets or anything
Yeah.
like that, just income. It was something like you can find the numbers if you look it up, but it was something like ludicrously low as like 17%, whereas the poorest New Zealanders, once you account for like petrol taxes, GST and all that, are paying up to over 50% of their income in tax. And this is how the government responds to that is like, well, the very poorest in New Zealand aren't quite paying enough tax. So
What's wild as well is that Upson didn't even turn up for the final reading. So
no,
Minister of Social Development, she didn't even show up.
but this is
She
this
was
is
down
an
at
on
Gloriavale probably.
this is an ongoing theme, right? We have these ministers doing these heinous laws and they don't even show up in Parliament to defend them. Brooke Van Velden, with a lot of her policy
Oh yeah.
changes, she's let Seymour take the stand for her. Yeah, just evil shit.
Yeah, yeah. The Greens, Menendez March again, was the best response to this one.
Hmm.
Just how can this be a bill about fairness and equity when it entrenches a practice that puts some of our most injured and traumatized people in large debts? Yeah,
Oh, is it being pushed through on urgency as well?
it's done. It got done this week, and she didn't even show up.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
Labour voted for the first reading and only wanted some changes.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, about where Labour sit on the spectrum of being
Well, they're the
electoral
party of
left.
fiscal responsibility.
Oh yeah, look, if we pay the poors too much, that's taxpayer money, mate. But yeah, just some really heinous stuff, and I expect it to be as it gets clearer and clearer that if National are not going to make it at the next election, they're going to try and push through some other stuff under urgency that's worse than this.
Yeah. Well, it's the landmine theory, right? They're trying to create a society that results in their six-person electorate just continuing to accumulate power and wealth. And they know that even if Labour gets in with a supermajority, they know that the legislation of a Labour government is going to be much slower um, than theirs. Like, they'll follow the full processes and all that, and they'll be like, oh, look at the good boys and girls that we're being. And MBs, I guess. But, and then, you know, things don't improve. Who do people blame? They blame the people who are currently in power, Labour, and eventually the right wing
Especially
gets back in.
with Labour doing the whole austerity thing themselves, right? Like fully hamstringing themselves,
What the
like from day
left
dot.
the left needs to come out and say, look, the past 3 years have been a fucking disaster for the country. But some people have come out very well from that. We are going to tax the ever-loving fuck out
They're
of
not going
them,
to exist
and we're going to
anymore.
fix the problems.
But also, like, you wouldn't even need to do that. Like,
No,
you could just say, we're just going to borrow. Fuck it. Like, we get 120,000 people are like, what, leaving in the last year? Like,
something ridiculous.
and there are no jobs. Like, unemployment is going through the roof. Like,
Hmm.
job numbers are down. Like, debt is up. Private debt is up.
Don't have
How do
enough
they?
teachers, don't have enough doctors, don't have enough nurses.
So, see, oh, this is the fucking thing that came out yesterday. They're having to ration dialysis.
Hmm.
Like you just say, look, it's fucked. We're gonna borrow because we want people to be able to live lives, not even live good lives,
Just
just fucking
live.
survive,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're gonna give you all $2,000. Spend it on your petrol ration.
Well, the thing is,
Um,
even that would just be a drop in the bucket for a lot of people
oh
because
yeah.
people have had to get out of debt.
Oh no, and
Um,
this would have to be alongside like massive improvements to and funding for all the places that have just been absolutely decimated under
I
this
think I
current
think
government.
that the silver bullet policy for this election, though, which I haven't actually really seen any major announcement from any party on, flood resilience. Flood resilience. It's like I think there was a poll done recently on infrastructure spending, and most New Zealanders want infrastructure spending to increase. They don't want it to be spent on roads. They want it to be spent to make sure that people's homes don't get fucking flooded. Um,
Hey, that would create a lot of jobs, wouldn't it, if we were
that
doing
would
some of that?
create a lot of jobs. And the thing is, there's so many jobs out there that serve, like that provide positive feedback loops. If you look at like, predator-free New Zealand, right? Turn that into an arm of Doc, fund, 1,000 people to go out and do fucking pest control. And that will help protect New Zealand's tourism industry and build up, our clean green image and all that kind of thing. Like, we could sit here for hours and shoot the shit about all sorts of different job creation policies the government can do that would be wildly popular, which additionally would help build up private business because suddenly
Hmm.
people would have money to spend. But at the end of the day, like, Labour doesn't want to come in and fix everyone's problems. Like, we, but like awkwardly enough, we kind of saw how much power the government has during COVID when it was clear, oh, we're going to have to do this lockdown to try and protect people. And the government actually locked everyone the fuck down and spent a huge amount of money on an admittedly kind of flawed um, wage subsidy scheme. The executive benefit. There was the huge loans for businesses that needed to like tide over,
Yeah, yeah.
housing everyone because it turns out we actually do have the housing when we want to find it. And yeah, I, I feel like a lot of the government movement in the past 6 years has just been, oh, we've got to like hide the power that we have. We have to hide from people that we can actually just wave a wand and fix things. They waved a wand and fixed things overnight. And then they're talking about, oh, it costs so much money, it costs so much money. National government has borrowed more in the past 3 years to fund tax cuts for the wealthiest people in this fucking country. Like,
And we're not even taking into account like as you say, the on-run effects of that, right? Like,
yep.
oh, you mean 10,000 more people are alive? I
Yep.
wonder how they contribute to the economy. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, ultimately, government isn't about doing what's best for the country or trying to improve the lives of people. Government is about securing yourself a really nice speaking circuit once you're done. And the quicker that we understand that, the faster.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be any speaking circuits left pretty soon, mate.
Yeah.
Maybe a nice spot in the bunker, eh? I don't know. I don't know what kind of roles they're going to have in the bunker, but it's not going to be nice. It's not going to be nice. Hey, I think we'll wrap it.
On that
Lots
happy
happening.
note,
Lots happening. Right-wing government's bad. Fascism bad. War, pretty bad. And it's all going to have impacts. Uh, do your best to help educate people about the fact that this government is kind of to blame for the way those things are impacting our country specifically, and hopefully we can throw them out. At the end of the year, thank you for joining me, Pmax.
you're welcome. It's been a joy to talk about all the ways the world is wrong.
It always is a little bit of catharsis. Share, like, subscribe, or whatever you do with these kind of things. Like I said, there's an Iran episode on the way as well, or you've already listened to it. I don't know which. It depends what order I get them.
Depends on if you're doing ascending or descending order.
It also depends on that, or you just chose to listen to that one first for whatever reason. But we'll be back in the midweek, maybe with something, and otherwise we'll catch you for current events. See you then.
If artifices are denied, living a pointless life, but learning all your lessons. Fucking politics, there's no distinction. The road's upon now. It's paved with good intentions, and I'll admit that I'm at a loss for what to say when the criticism is across me ought to stay. 'Cause I live amongst the people every day. In this vindictive, forgetful fucking rain, it feels like we're on the road to hell.